You hear all these terms thrown around: machine learning, deep learning, generative AI. It's really easy to get lost in all the buzzwords. But here's the thing. They aren't totally separate ideas. They're actually all part of one single story, built layer by layer over 70 years. So let's peel back those layers and see how we actually got here. The first thing you've got to get your head around is that AI isn't just one invention. It's really a technology stack, where each new layer on top unlocks these incredible new abilities. Seriously, think of it like building blocks, one stacked right on top of the other, starting way back in the 1950s.
So, yeah, how did we get here? How did we manage to go from simple calculators to systems that can literally create art and execute complex tasks all on their own? Let's start our journey at the very bottom of the stack, the very beginning.
All right, let's wind the clock all the way back to the 1950s. This is the origin story. It's where the big dream of creating a thinking machine all began, with the foundational idea simply called artificial intelligence.
Now, the key words to focus on here are logic and reasoning. You see, early AI wasn't about learning at all. It was about rules. Humans had to sit down and painstakingly program a system with every single piece of knowledge it needed, trying to mimic exactly how a human expert would think through a problem.
So you can see it right here. Artificial intelligence forms the bedrock. It's this wide, solid foundation that every other advancement would eventually be built right on top of.
A perfect example? One of those classic chess computers. It doesn't actually learn how to play chess. Nope. It's just been programmed with a massive library of rules and potential moves, and it simply calculates the best option based on that cold, hard logic.
Okay, let's jump forward a few decades to the 1980s. This is when a major evolution happened, what we're calling the shift. This is where machine learning makes its grand entrance.
And this was a total game changer. Instead of feeding the machine a rulebook, we started feeding it data. Tons and tons of data. Machine learning uses statistics to look at thousands or even millions of examples, identify patterns all by itself, and then make predictions. It actually learns.
And just like that, our stack gets its second layer. Machine learning is built directly on those old principles of AI, but it adds this powerful new capability of learning from experience. This was huge because it meant we could finally start tackling problems that were just way too complex and messy to write rules for by hand. You see this in action every single day. Your spam filter, for instance. Nobody programmed it with a list of every possible spam email. It was just shown millions of examples of spam and not spam, and it literally taught itself how to tell the difference.
All right, hit the fast forward button to the 2010s. This is the era of scale. We're talking about massive, almost unimaginable amounts of data, plus some seriously powerful computers. And all that gives us our next layer, deep learning.
Deep learning uses these super complex structures called neural networks, which are kind of loosely inspired by the human brain. And their absolute superpower is perception. This is the technology that finally allowed machines to understand the messy, unstructured world of images and sound with almost human-like precision.
And there it is, the third layer on our growing stack. You can think of deep learning as basically machine learning on steroids. It's much more powerful, it can handle way more data, and it enabled a whole new class of applications that rely on sight and sound.
Ever wonder how your phone just knows? How it can pick out your best friend in a dozen different photos with different lighting from different angles? Yep, that's deep learning at work. It has learned to perceive and recognize faces just like we do.
And that brings us to the 2020s, a time that I think most of us are pretty familiar with. This is the innovation, the era of generative AI.
Now this is a huge leap forward. We've moved beyond just understanding data to actually creating with it. Generative AI takes everything it's learned and synthesizes it to produce something entirely new. An image, a poem, a piece of code, all from a simple request from you.
So this powerful new layer gets added near the top of our stack, and it represents a massive jump in what's possible. AI isn't just an analyst anymore. It's become a creative partner. The whole relationship shifts from a tool that finds answers to a collaborator that helps you invent them.
I mean, if you've ever played around with a tool like ChatGPT or Midjourney, you've seen this yourself. You give it a prompt, and it generates something that has never existed before. That right there is the magic of generative AI.
But hold on, the story doesn't end there. We are now looking at the new frontier, the next layer that's just starting to form, projected for 2025 and beyond, agentic AI.
And honestly, this might be the most significant leap yet. Agentic AI moves beyond creating things for you to taking actions for you. We're talking about autonomous systems that can understand a complex goal, make a plan, and then actually use digital tools to execute it.
And this isn't just science fiction. According to a report by Capgemini, 37% of businesses are already experimenting with these AI agents. The shift from a simple assistant to a system that can orchestrate entire workflows, well, it's already happening.
So let's just boil it down to its core. What's the key difference? It's this simple. Generative AI creates content. Agentic AI takes action. One is your creative partner, the other is your autonomous doer.
And here it is, the complete AI stack from the 1950s all the way to tomorrow. We've taken this incredible journey from systems based on simple, hard-coded logic, all the way to systems that are capable of autonomous action.
It's a pretty incredible evolution, isn't it? Which of course leaves us with one final really big question. Now that AI has gone from thinking to learning to creating and now to acting, what's it going to learn to do next?